Welcome to the NFT MetaJungle. I am Emma, aka Nifty Meta Girl, and on today's episode, I'm going to be sharing more about the photographers and photographs that we are featuring in the Venice Biennale exhibit happening right now in Venice, Italy. This is episode 8 of our 12-part series, and very excited for the photographs in this particular scene. These are going to be fitting into the genre of cinematic and fashion photography, and this is a genre I definitely personally enjoy a lot, but I relate to all of the genres that we have included, so my passion for photography definitely shines through. But with this, usually editorial and cinematic, I love the lighting, I love the storytelling, and can relate to usually like the crisp lines and just the feel, the overall feel of the photography. So very excited to share about today we're going to be featuring 7 photographers and 8 photos. So really excited to get into these. Again, we are currently having these exhibited in real life in Venice, Italy, and this is a sponsored exhibit by MetaJungle through SuperChief Gallery, and all of these pieces are owned by AlphaTrilogy, and the exhibit has been curated by myself and AlphaTrilogy, but we've really worked hard to highlight multiple genres of photography to help share our passion for photography and help those that might be interested in coming in to the NFT space or even just exploring photography more, to have some really great examples of different genres and those and photographers to connect with as well. So we've really paid a lot of attention to highlight photographers that might be working as emerging into the field of photography, those that are established and those that are world renowned. And we definitely have photographers in this particular series today that fit all of those categories. One thing that Alpha has said about this is this particular set is that to be able to show the genius of arguably the most famous fashion photographer in history, along with artists that are continually pushing their own creativity, is a huge honor. There's no chance involved in these photos. And we can definitely tell a lot of thought and planning has gone into these particular pieces that we'll be featuring. Now, the first photo is actually captured by one of the most famous fashion photographers in history, and has been super exciting to have the Bourdin estate coming into the NFT space. So yes, this first photo is captured by Bourdin himself, and this is a collection that has been introduced through Fellowship Trust, which has really been striving to build trust both for photographers and collectors within the NFT space, and providing a lot of education along with these opportunities to be connected to world-famous photographs and world-famous photographers. But a little bit of background about Bourdin. He was actually born in France in 1928, and he is best known for his highly experimental photography. He has mostly worked in color, but he's a key contributor to French Vogue from 1955 to the end of the 1980s, and he's really pushed the boundaries of fashion photographer, presenting bold, often provocative images with a unique contemporary aesthetic. Shot in France in the 1950s, Bourdin's early experimental work bridges the gap between surrealism and subjective photography, simultaneously drawing on the past while at the same time adopting current trends. The past in his case is the influence of surrealism, which can be seen in a way in which Bourdin approaches still life and portraiture. Bourdin's career spanned for more than 40 years, in which time he worked for the world's leading fashion houses and magazines. With the eye of a painter, Bourdin creates images that contain fascinating stories, compositions both in black and white and in color. He was among the first to create images with narratives telling stories and shows the image is more important than the product which is displayed. That's something I absolutely love about his work, is oftentimes he's creating these images that are beautiful photographs, but they are actually ads that are shown in Vogue magazine and other major publications, but just his ability to capture a beautiful image, but yet have a commercial use as well is very, very intriguing. But he used fashion photography as his medium to send out his message. And he explores the realms between the absurd and the sublime. Famed for his suggestive narratives and surreal aesthetics, he radically broke conventions of commercial photography with a relentless perfectionism and sharp humor. And you can tell from his work that he definitely was a perfectionist. He really knew how to grab the attention of the viewer and left nothing to chance. The unusual dramas that unfolded in these seemingly everyday scenes and ordinary encounters pique our subconsciousness and invite our imagination. Moreover, he develops a technique using hyper-real colors, meticulous compositions of cropped elements such as low skies with high grounds, and an interplay of light and shadows, as well as unique makeup of the models. His work has been exhibited in the most prestigious museums, such as Victoria and Albert Museum, the Tate Museum, the Jeux de Paume, the Getty Museum, the National Art Museum of China, the Tokyo Metropolitan Museum of Photography, and the Moscow House of Photography. It's just absolutely amazing. He's also been displayed in MoMA in New York, the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, SF, the San Francisco MoMA, and many, many other collections. Now, the collection description for this particular series does lend to a lot of the description that we've already discussed. But with this particular image, which is Vogue Paris, March 1976, we can see that this is such a beautiful example of having this story happening, this drama unfolding in front of us. And it's really crazy to think about the time in which his images were being created and also being published in major magazines, because you can tell that they were quite oftentimes provocative and, created probably some drama. I can't imagine being, the recipient of these magazines at this time or seeing them on display in stores, just because he always did really push the envelope. But it is said in the collection description that the genius that is stamped upon the legacy of Guy Bourdin is found in his inventiveness, enthusiasm, and fearlessness, qualities that define great art and great fashion. And absolutely have to agree. So for presenting a series dedicated to cinematic and fashion photography, it only seems right that Guy Bourdin is the opening act. Now, the next photographer that we are featuring in this series is Brian Cattelle. And Brian is a very talented photographer, but he's also a very talented writer and does a great job with creating cinematic series as well. But this particular collection that we're featuring is called Bear USA. And Brian shares that he really uses photography as an escape, a way to explore the world, studying every detail of the simple things. He says that it gives him an opportunity to find beauty in unexpected places and in all walks of life. It forces him to challenge and push the boundaries of his comfort zone, enabling him to grow as a person and as an artist. Over the years, he has explored a wide range of photographic narratives while remaining loyal to his black and white roots. He's had a number of notable accomplishments, which include a few international contests, features and publications, art shows, galleries, and large commission projects. And these accomplishments really are motivating to keep him going. But with Bear USA, this is such a beautiful collection. And it also combines all of these elements that I've shared with you about Brian, because he is such an amazing photographer, but also you can really see his passion for traveling, exploring the world, and really being able to push boundaries. But in this particular collection, it's a nationwide fine art photography project, and it delves into the study of natural beauty in contrast with man-made decay by photographing nudes in abandoned locations in all 50 U.S. states. So that is quite the endeavor to take on. This project was created to make art, to create something beautiful where there once was nothing, to produce compelling images that spark the spirit of adventure and to ignite imagination and to evoke emotion. And those are all really lofty goals, but I would say that Brian has done an amazing job of reaching each of those goals in these different images. And with Bear USA, it shares the excitement of exploring and photographing forbidden landscapes of decay. We can see throughout that he is really also, in addition to traveling to these locations and experiencing what it's like to be exploring these places unannounced. It's not like he reached out to anyone, but so there's definitely elements of that. If you follow Brian on Twitter, he does an amazing job of writing narratives for each of these pieces and really talking about the areas that he was visiting and what it meant to him. So I have really appreciated just getting to see his viewpoint on all of these images that he's created. But there's also a complexity that he talks about that he describes when he's talking about this collection, because he's also, in addition to visiting these areas and finding beauty in decay, he's also wanting to really push the narrative of nudity. And for him, he talks about that in the initial part, that was something that he was uncomfortable with himself, but he really wants it to show that there's a safe way to embrace nudity while telling interesting stories about people and places across the United States. But it really adds this complexity to this entire project. This particular piece is hauntingly beautiful, but it's entitled St. Marie Hospital Number 2, and the model is Molly Pielta, and the location is St. Marie in Montana. And again, just such a striking image. And I've actually collected a piece from this series as well, which is it's the first one from the series, and it's captured in Joyland in Wichita, Kansas. So being able to connect to different pieces has been really cool as different pieces have been collected. And Alpha has collected several from this series, but this one I think is just such a beautiful example of the collection. Love that it's captured in this hospital setting. It's so striking to be here on the hospital bed under the light. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous image. And Alpha says, I'm mesmerized by Brian's visionary ability to highlight beauty from within forbidden landscapes of decay. So a wonderful way to summarize this beautiful collection. And again, Brian does stay true to those black and white roots. His first NFT collection is entitled Gumbo Land, and it sold out quickly. But he's been a really interesting and creative person to get to know and to follow. So definitely check out more of his work. Now, our next photograph that we've included in this series is created by an artist named Karen Jerzyk, and she defines herself as a surreal photographer who builds worlds and characters by hand and sometimes partakes in a little trespassing to create fantastical images. So she and Brian might have something in common to some degree, but this particular piece is absolutely amazing. This series where she has a character in the spacesuits and is in different surreal locations has been really fun to watch unfold. There are some notable things about this particular photograph that are really, really amazing. And this photograph is from the Citizens 908 collection. And the particular piece is called Nostalgia is Killing Me Lately, which is such a great title. And in the description, I want to share some of what Karen tells us, because it is a really fun story and really unique about this particular piece. But she says, for years I've wanted to do a photo shoot in front of a burning house, but never really knew how to go about it. I'd asked around and do research, but never really found the right contacts. Or I was always told no. I recently put my feelers out again, despite feeling that there was no hope and never being able to coordinate this. By some stroke of luck, a longtime social media friend saw my post and told me I was welcome to come and do a shoot at her fire department's burn. So I packed up my car and took a trip to North Carolina from New Hampshire, driving 13 hours straight. This was by far the hardest conditions to work under. The wind would blow the smoke our way and literally suffocate everyone. Sometimes the smoke made it too dark to see. It even moved so quickly and had a life of its own. Timing a decent photo was nearly impossible. The heat was so intense, and on one already hot summer day, that I was only able to shoot for a few seconds before we had to move. The suit is an authentic NASA escape suit made sometime around 1968 and used to be at the Kennedy Space Center. The serial number is on the side of the suit. I recently purchased the suit, and this was the first photo I did with it. And she said, here is the photo that I could only dream of doing many years ago in a totally different lifetime. And Alpha's quote points out some of the really special details about this particular shot. There was no Photoshop, no rendering. Everything in this photo is real. Perseverance and passion visually represent a non-repeatable piece of art. And this piece is absolutely remarkable. And the narrative throughout this collection does push the boundaries and has a really, really fun narrative. So absolutely love this collection by Karen and really happy to highlight this amazingly cinematic photograph. Now, our next contributor for this particular part of our series is a photographer who is based out of the Bay Area in California, and she is a notable portrait She's an award-winning portrait photographer. Her name is Swati Chakraborty, and she is a human resource professional turned photographer, interestingly enough. And I've actually had the pleasure to get to know Swati quite well here in the NFT space, and her journey into photography has been really, really interesting. She actually moved to the United States after growing up in India, and it probably was something that was a turn that wasn't the most expected change in life, but one that she has embraced really, really well. And for this particular series, she has shared that she actually came into photography because that is how she met her grandfather. He had passed away before she was able to actually meet him in person. And so she shares that she has a vintage black and white piece of sturdy paper in her family photo album. And in this photo is her grandfather holding her at 2 years old. And it's the only proof that she has ever had of receiving any grandfatherly love. Now, she grew up in a time that was before Facebook and before having a phone, having a camera on every phone. So it was really significant to actually have photographs of different events and opportunities to capture moments in time. And this ability to capture these moments in time is really what fueled her passion for learning photography. And so she even notes that photography gives you the privilege of touching memories again, a very tactile sensation to an otherwise imaginative exercise, which is so well said. So she decided to take up photography, and after fiddling with her camera for a while, she decided to train professionally, and she graduated from the New York Institute of Photography, and she has worked with some of the best photographers in the United States. Last year, she actually received the highest honor from the World Photography Cup. She is the 2022 gold medalist, and she is also a master photographer at Professional Photographers of America. So she has quite the prestigious background and is definitely an amazing photographer. Now, the photograph that we're highlighting in this particular set is one of 3 that were included in a collection that she minted onto Silica, and the collection is entitled I Am Ageless, She Put a Spell on Me by Swati Chakraborty. And the particular image that we're highlighting is Burn to Emerge. And Swati has shared about this collection the extensive work that she went to create the costumes that the models are wearing. And this is something I have loved learning about Swati and her process, is her ability to see an image and be able to direct the makeup, the hair, the costumes, everything that goes into creating these amazing pieces. And then as they come into the studio, she knows exactly how she wants the lighting set up, and she creates this entire environment where only a snap or 2 is required to capture just an absolute masterpiece. And so you really have to understand your craft and be passionate about what your vision is to be able to pull that off. So this piece is definitely fits right into that example. With the photo description, Swati shares, I meditate on how little time means to me beyond what I grasp with my infinite mind. And I think that is just such a beautiful sentiment for such a beautiful photo. And each of these 3 pieces actually touch on the idea of aging and ideals that women are struggling with. And this is a theme that runs through all of Swati's photography. She is always highlighting beautiful women and using this as a platform to be able to share her message with the world. So absolutely am such a fan of Swati and her beautiful work. Alpha mentions for this particular piece, Swati has defined her own genre where she combines artistic fashion with portrait photography in a form of emotional expressionism. And that is so well said, because that is that touches on every element of what Swati creates. And she is also just such a passionate person in the NFT space, and someone that I have really, really enjoyed getting to know. She's one that will, as the different trends and things are happening in the NFT space, she's very grounded in the journey that she wants to follow here in the NFT space. So I'm very excited to see where those goals take her in the future. But super, super happy to include this beautiful piece in this set. Now, our next photographer is also based in California, but he is based in Los Angeles, and he has built a social media presence of nearly 1 million people between Instagram and YouTube. His name is Brandon North, and he describes himself as a non-fungible photographer and poet. And he has really created a signature style of photography that delivers thought-provoking imagery in an elegant, highly conceptual manner, and he oftentimes is pairing that with his poetry, which is a really, really amazing combination. From images of futuristic beings to visions of a world dripping in gold, his photos truly have a voice of their own. And it's really interesting to explore Brendan's work, because he does have work that spans a lot of different concepts. And in this particular series that we're highlighting, the work is all in black and white, and it's called Painted Poetry by Brendan North. And this is a collection of 40 unique photographs created over the course of 4 years. And Brendan says that it's his first step into conceptual photography. And he says that they say a photo is worth 1,000 words, but what if you could just choose a few? He said, I've always loved writing, longer even than my love for photography. So the idea was simple: take fragments of my writing and create meaningful images around them. And what better way to do that than to turn the human body into a canvas and paint those words directly onto my subjects? These images are personal, they are powerful, and they are pure, as raw as the emotions that they portray. I hope you find yourself somewhere in this painted poetry. And the particular piece that Alpha has collected is entitled Number 9, Burn. And it is such a stark, beautiful image. I just love the shading, the lighting, and the overall emotion that emotes from this photograph. But this series is absolutely amazing. It's one of probably my top 10 series that I have seen in NFT photography. So I'm a huge fan of the work. And this is a collection that actually came out before we entered into the NFT space. And I know that AlphaTrilogy put a lot of effort into collecting a piece from this particular series, because it had since sold out. And there are a lot of very devoted collectors in this series, because he reached out to quite a few and they said, we are not interested in selling. So that's always an interesting part, too, of collecting in the NFT space. But really, really love the piece that Alpha was able to acquire. And it's been really fun to see Brendan blossom in the NFT space and bringing in different viewpoints, but always that passion for creating something by using a story and using his words in addition to his vivid images is a signature of his. And Alpha has said about this, when I think of visual poetry portraying emotion and an atmosphere via photography, I think immediately of Brendan North. And he definitely holds that, and that is definitely true. So really excited to include this particular piece in this set of the series. Now, our next piece is also created by Bourdin, and this is another from an ad campaign, and it was captured in 1977. And I love this image. There's so many of the things about a Guy Bourdin that this photograph captures. But we can see that sexy allure, the provocative positioning, and laying out on the satin chair. And I would assume that this is probably an ad for a shoe campaign with the shoes prominently being displayed. But it just tells a story, but yet ask so many more questions about what's happening here. There's actually a companion piece to this particular image where the roles are reversed, which is really, really interesting. I love exploring Bourdin's photography for seeing how he is so playful in his storytelling and really pushes the narrative. And so I know that Alpha had appreciated being able to collect this particular piece, would have loved to also have the companion piece. However, it was already collected. But it's really, really fun to see these pieces come into the space and also see what collectors connect with which pieces. And Alpha has said about this particular piece, there are photographers such as Guy that paved the way for modern photography. It is an honor to be able to collect these photos as one-of-one NFTs. And it is absolutely amazing. This is another photographer that I know Alpha has mentioned that he doesn't have any concern with the trust of the photography. He knows that, that has already been proven and tried and true. It's really now whether Web3, it's really more about the trust that we're building in the Web3 atmosphere. So it's really exciting to also see these estates like Guy Bourdin's really understanding what we're creating here with minting work onto the blockchain and the future it has for photography. And actually, here in a few days, I'm going to get to go and travel to Paris Photo and be able to experience that event. And I'm super, super excited that through Fellowship Trust, there's actually going to be Guy Bourdin pieces being displayed. And so since I first saw his work come into the NFT space and start learning more about him, I've been excited to see a piece in real life, so cannot wait for that experience. But definitely a piece that is a cornerstone in any curated exhibit talking about cinematic or fashion photography. Now, another fashion photographer that we're excited to include in this particular set is a photographer based out of Turkey, and his name is Doruk Seymen. And we came in contact with Doruk about this time last year, probably. And something I love about Doruk is he really understands about the NFT space being this opportunity for a revolution in art. And you can see his passion for that in several of the series that he has introduced into the space. But Doruk is professionally trained, and he's also worked for several advertising agencies on photography and visual designs. He does a great job with creating videos in addition to photography. But in 2006, he decided to step away from working for other advertising agencies and really came into his professional life in photography. And since then, he's had many photo shoots with various brands. He has also completed 18 months of education at the New York Institute of Photography, which is pretty exciting. But he currently now provides services to various magazines and brands with his own company. In addition to editorial photography, Doruk really has a passion for nature and combining experimental photography to tell different narratives along the way. Now, this particular piece that we're featuring in this exhibit is from his Blinky Portraits 2 collection, and this is the second NFT collection that he released. It's a continuation of Blinky Portraits 1. But this is just an amazing piece that was such a great example in our cinematic and fashion photography curated set. The collection description from Doruk says, "Nothing more, nothing less." In the second part of Blinky Portraits, we continue to see expressions based on people's emotions, not based on a fictional story. This collection, which is the continuation of the first, is also the last of the series. There will be no more sequel to Blinky Portraits, which is shaped by pandemic-era moods, but the story of the people it covers, and more will be with us in the future for new projects. He says, "You will see non-portrait photos in this collection. These are the artists who use their bodies in the professional field. This is how they expressed their own narratives. Portraits are not just a facial expression. They also include how the person sees their own portrait. In this way, they are originally included in the narrative." And so this particular piece is entitled "Follow Your Passion." And he says, "The choice is yours, in front or behind the camera, and which do you feel more passionate about? It's possible to feel it in your eyes." And that is so well captured in this amazing image. I love her expression. I love the way she's styled, her outfit, the camera that she's holding. It's just a really, really powerful photo. And Alpha has said, a renowned fashion photographer, Doruk has the rare ability to visually tell complex stories while complementing and enhancing the brand for which he is shooting. This ability is the hallmark of his art. And very well said. You can see the years of experience coming through in the work that Doruk captures and the narrative that he is sharing with us. And it's been really exciting to see his start with Blinky Portraits and to see that narrative unfold and the amazingly powerful stories that he's been able to share with us. So definitely one to check out. Now, the last photographer that we're including in this set is based out of Los Angeles, and not only is she a photographer, but she is also a filmmaker. Her name is Julie Pacino, and she is using NFT photography in a very innovative way. And her goal is to be the creator behind the first NFT-funded feature film, which she has named Keepers of the Inn. And so there is a really, really cool process that by collecting pieces from this collection, the proceeds will actually be going to funding this feature-long film and be able to democratize the way that films are created. I absolutely love this idea and this concept. And so this particular collection called Keepers of the Inn, it is comprised of photos that were taken during the rehearsal process for this feature film, which is also called I Live Here Now. And there's a total of 3,356 photographs, all captured by Julie herself. And that by purchasing these, again, the funds help go to funding the feature-long film. However, they also are the key to be able to unlock other abilities to have a controlling process in how the film is being created. So this is all laid out on her website, but it's really, really interesting how she's made this feature-long film more of a community project, and something that I absolutely love about the NFT space, that you're able to actually create a community, that people that have a creative interest are able to create a community around their project, have the people involved in different ways, and really be able to have this fan base from the very beginning. I mean, what better way to create a project than having the people that connect with it and are passionate about what you're creating be involved with every step. So she lays out a really amazing process for how you're able to actually use your pieces that you hold as tickets for voting. So she's, and also be even leading up to the first private screening of the movie. So you get some of the inside information. You get to learn about details of the movie and the events before anyone else. So it's, again, a really, really cool concept. But if you'd like to learn more, you can go to keepersoftheinn.art to learn about all of the pieces that are unlocked. It also gives details about some of the unique characteristics of the NFTs within the collection. So, and she has some other fun things that she's done that she's implemented with collecting different pieces out of the collection. For instance, the piece that we've included in this particular series is one of Rose, who is the main character in the movie. But if you collect 5 different images that feature Rose, then it unlocks different perks for being a holder. And interestingly enough, there's only 22 images out of the 3,356 that have Rose featured in them. So really cool ways, again, of being able to reward those that are getting involved on early and and sharing Julie's passion for this piece that she's creating. Now, this particular photo that we have included is a beautiful piece, and it's entitled Let Us Begin. And it's a moment from Rose's internal journey. And it's captured here, of course, on film, but really is some of the beginning hints of how this story unfolds. But again, really, really interesting collection, a very innovative way of going about creating something, and hopefully this is a use for NFTs that we're going to see in the future. But also, if you Google Keepers of the Inn, you're going to find a lot of information. This luckily has been a project that has gotten, I think, more attention from press than other projects that I have seen in the NFT space, but it's going to be a really, really monumental example of NFT NFTs used by creatives to fund projects along the way. And Alpha has said that Julie is an innovator that has proven how one genre of art, photography, can be used via blockchain and Web3 to finance other genres. For example, film. And so, again, a really awesome way of being able to utilize your creative process to be able to have that freedom to create as you'd like. And I think that is a shining example of how NFTs can be used. So definitely check that out. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as I've highlighted, again, 7 different photographers and 8 different photos that are included in our cinematic and fashion scene that is being displayed right now in Venice, Italy, at Venice Biennale. It's been really, really fun to be able to delve in a little bit deeper and be able to share the background of these artists and these amazing photographs. If you'd like to connect with the artists, the details will be included in the show notes here. And also, if you enjoyed this, please please subscribe and share, comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. You can also connect with us on all of our social media channels. They'll be noted in the show notes as well, but on all of our social media platforms, you can search at MetaJungle NFT. Connect with me personally, Nifty Meta Girl on Twitter, and also check out our Twitter, MetaJungle NFT, to find the link to our Discord channel. We're always creating new content, and our goal here with MetaJungle is to help provide free tools and resources to empower NFT artists and collectors to help navigate this NFT jungle. So again, there are great artists that we've highlighted here to be able to connect with if you're interested in starting your journey into learning more about NFT photography. So again, I hope you've really enjoyed this episode. This is episode 8 of 12. So we have the previous genres highlighted in episodes 1 through 7. So if you've missed those, please check those out. And please also set that notification bell so you can be alerted when we're dropping the additional series. So all 12 episodes will be released during the month of November while we're celebrating this in real life exhibit happening at Venice Biennale. It's sponsored by MetaJungle in conjunction with SuperChief Gallery. And all of these pieces are collected by AlphaTrilogy, curated by myself and AlphaTrilogy. So again, it was wonderful to get to highlight this particular genre of cinematic and fashion photography. And please stay tuned for our next episode where we are going to be highlighting travel and lifestyle photography. So thank you again, and we'll look forward to next time.